My wife told me she was pregnant. I held her hand and smiled. 3 hours later, her doctor called me by the wrong name. Her boss's name. That's when I knew. 41 years old, married 8 years. Owner of a small shipyard my father left me, my grandfather left him. 3 generations of white men building boats in Charleston, and now, supposedly, a 4th generation on the way. Except I can't have children. A doctor told me that 6 years ago. The words were clinical. Azoospermia, complete absence of viable sperm, sterile. 6 years ago, Amanda and I sat in that fertility clinic and heard those words together. We cried together. And then 3 years ago, we adopted Sophia. So when Amanda showed me those pregnancy tests, 4 of them lined up on our kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene, I should have been confused, should have asked questions. Instead, I smiled. I pulled her close. I said all the right words. That's wonderful, honey. Wow, I can't believe it. She laughed. That bright laugh I fell in love with. I know. I thought maybe the doctors were wrong. Maybe we just needed time. And now we're having a baby. We're having a baby. I was touching my grandfather's watch. I didn't realize it until later when I was alone. It was habit, reaching for that heavy gold weight in my pocket whenever I was stressed. The watch had been in our family for 4 generations. My grandfather wore it. My father wore it. I've worn it every day since Grandpa died 6 months ago. It was ticking against my palm, steady, relentless, like a countdown. That evening, I tucked Sophia into bed. She's 5, bright, curious, sensitive in ways that terrify me as a parent. She has this way of seeing through people. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart? Mommy says we're having a baby. I pulled her blanket up to her chin. That's right. But I thought... She stopped, started again. I thought you couldn't have babies. That's why you picked me. My throat tightened. We chose you. That's different from picking. We chose you because we loved you. Because blood makes you family? It was something I'd told her, a bedtime story from a few weeks ago when she'd asked about her birth parents. I'd said what my grandfather always said, blood makes you family. That's right, I said. Blood makes you family. She nodded, satisfied, but I could see the question in her eyes, the one she was too young to ask. Then, what makes me your family? I kissed her forehead and left before she could see my face. 3 days later, the phone rang. Amanda was at work, the hospital where she's been a nurse for 10 years. I was at the shipyard reviewing inventory. The number was unfamiliar. Mr. Robinson. I froze. This is Christopher White. A pause. Oh, I apologize. This is the prenatal clinic at Charleston Regional. We have Amanda White's first ultrasound scheduled for Tuesday at 9 a.m. I was calling to confirm with her husband. You're Christopher White, her husband. Of course. I'm so sorry, Mr. White. I had you listed under, well, there was a note in the file. My mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. I heard it in her voice. The realization, the embarrassment, someone had written a name in that file. Gregory Robinson, Amanda's boss, the director of the insurance company where she'd worked for the past 3 years. Tuesday at 9, I said, and we'll be there. After she hung up, I stood in my office for 10 minutes. The shipyard was loud. Sanders, drills, men shouting measurements. But I didn't hear any of it. I heard that name. Gregory Robinson, her boss. I called Robert Harrison that afternoon. We'd served together in the Navy 15 years ago, stayed in touch. He'd become a private investigator after he got out, good at his job, discreet. Chris, it's been a while. I need your help. He heard something in my voice. When? Now. We met at a coffee shop on the edge of town, the kind where nobody knows anybody. I brought a folder. Inside, 3 pages of medical records from the fertility clinic. June 2018. The diagnosis that ended my chance at biological children. Robert read them slowly. When he finished, he looked at me. And your wife is pregnant? 5 weeks. Jesus, Chris. I need to know. He studied me for a long moment. We'd been in combat together. He'd seen me scared, seen me angry, seen me break down when we lost men, but he'd never seen me like this, hollow. You sure you want to know? He asked, because once I start looking, I already know. I just need proof. He took the file. Give me 3 days. I nodded, then I pulled the watch from my pocket and set it on the table between us. I'd worn it every day for 6 months, since the funeral, since the reading of the will, since my mother told me about the inheritance. $1.2 million, but only if I had a bloodline heir within 2 years. Robert looked at the watch, then at me. Chris, if this is accurate, that baby isn't yours. It can't be. I know. So, what do you want from me? Just confirmation? I thought about Sophia, about tucking her in every night, about the way she called me Daddy without hesitation, without qualification. Everything, I said. I want to know everything. That night, Sophia found me in the garage. I was supposed to be organizing tools. Instead, I was sitting on a workbench, staring at nothing. Daddy? I looked up. She was holding a piece of paper, white construction paper, the kind from kindergarten, crayon drawings. I made this for you. She held it up. 4 stick figures, different heights. She labeled them carefully in her kindergarten handwriting, Daddy, Mommy, me, new baby. She'd used yellow crayon for everyone's hair except the baby. The baby had no hair yet, just a circle for a head, and beneath it, new baby. Beneath her own stick figure, she'd written something else, so small I almost missed it. Me, not blood. It's beautiful, sweetie. She chewed her lip. Daddy? Yeah? Will you still love me when the real baby comes? My heart shattered, right there in the garage, surrounded by sawdust and old tools and the smell of motor oil. I knelt down to her height. Sophia, look at me. She did. Those big eyes, so trusting, so afraid. You are real. You're the most real thing in my life, and nothing is going to change that. Do you understand? She nodded, but I could see she didn't believe me. Not fully. I pulled her into a hug, held her tight. Over her shoulder, I could see her drawing on the floor. 4 stick figures, a family, built on something I couldn't name anymore. Later, after I tucked her in, after Amanda came home from a late shift at the hospital, after we ate dinner and pretended everything was normal, I sat in our bedroom and thought about that drawing. Me, not blood. She already knew, 5 years old, and she already knew she was different. Already knew that when the real baby came, things would change. If you've ever had to protect a child from an adult's mess, if you've ever had to be strong when you wanted to break, I hope you'll stay with me, because what happened next changed everything. If you understand what that feels like, just leave a comment. Say, I understand. You're not alone. Robert called me on the 3rd day. I've got something. When can you meet? Now. I told Amanda I had a client meeting, drove to Robert's office downtown. He had a laptop open, files spread across his desk. I ran her credit cards. He said, nothing unusual except here. He pointed to a charge. The Harborview Hotel. Expensive. She's been there 6 times in the past 2 months, always on days you're listed as working late at the shipyard. That doesn't mean, Chris. He turned the laptop toward me. Security camera footage. The hotel lobby. Date stamp, 4 days ago. Time 2:17 p.m. Amanda walking through the lobby, not alone. Gregory Robinson, tall, mid-40s, the kind of confidence that comes with money. His hand on her lower back, both of them laughing. I watched them walk to the elevator, watched the doors close, watched the time stamp count forward, 2 hours and 43 minutes before she texted me, running late, honey, crazy shift, love you. Robert handed me a folder. There's more. Restaurant receipts, text messages, I pulled her phone records. The affair's been going on for at least 8 months, maybe longer. 8 months. I did the math. Started around February, right after my grandfather's funeral, right after my mother told me about the inheritance clause, right after Amanda and I had the first real conversation about trying again, about maybe using a donor, about the pressure from my family. There's something else, Robert said. The timing lines up almost perfectly with when she would have conceived. If she's 5 weeks pregnant now, we're looking at conception around late August. I've got hotel records for August 23rd, all day. I stared at the folder. Everything I needed was in there. Dates, times, locations, proof. Do you want me to keep digging? Robert asked. I thought about Sophia's drawing, about the way she'd written "not blood" beneath her own name. Yes, I want to know everything. Who knew? Who helped? All of it. He nodded. Chris, I'm sorry, man. I took the folder. Inside, my grandfather's watch ticked steadily in my pocket. 4 generations of white men, the weight of expectation, the pressure to continue the bloodline. And now this, a baby that wasn't mine, a wife who'd betrayed me, and a little girl who was already afraid she wasn't real enough. I waited until Amanda was asleep. It was past midnight. She'd come home late again. Another double shift, she said. She was exhausted, pregnant, asleep within minutes. I took her phone from the nightstand. The screen lit up bright in the dark bedroom. I knew her passcode, our anniversary. I'd watched her type it 1,000 times. The phone unlocked. I opened her text messages, found his name, Gregory. 187 messages, 8 months of conversations. I started scrolling. February 14th, 11:42 p.m. Amanda, he's at the shipyard late. Can you meet? Gregory, on my way. March 3rd, 9:16 a.m. Gregory, last night was incredible. Amanda, I know, but we have to be careful. Gregory, don't worry, I've done this before. That stopped me cold. I've done this before. I kept scrolling. The messages got more detailed, more explicit. Plans to meet. Complaints about me, about how I was distant, how I was obsessed with the shipyard, how I didn't understand her. Then 2 months ago, August 29th, 2:14 a.m. Amanda, I think I'm pregnant. Gregory, are you sure? Amanda, 3 tests, all positive. Gregory, what are you going to tell him? Amanda, the truth. Sort of. Gregory, he'll never know? Amanda, he can't have kids. Doctor confirmed it years ago. He'll think it's a miracle. I read that message 3 times. 4. The screen light was too bright. I turned the brightness down, but the words got clearer, not dimmer. He'll think it's a miracle. I scrolled further. More recent messages. September 20th, 7:33 p.m. Amanda, he's so happy about the baby. It's killing me. Gregory, don't feel guilty. You're giving him what he wants, an heir. The inheritance depends on it. The inheritance. I scrolled back further, found it. February 18th, 4 days after my grandfather's funeral. 4 days after we'd learned about the will, about the clause requiring a bloodline heir within 2 years. February 18th, 10:52 p.m. Amanda, he mentioned the inheritance clause again tonight. 2 years, bloodline heir. M says we need to move faster. Gregory, M? Amanda, his mother, she's been helpful. She understands what's at stake. M, not Mom, not Margaret, just M. My mother had a code name in my wife's affair. The phone nearly slipped from my hands. I had to set it down on the bed, step away, breathe. But I couldn't breathe. The bedroom was too small. The walls were too close. I picked up the phone again, kept scrolling, found more messages between Amanda and my mother. Not many, they were careful, but enough. March 2nd. Margaret, Mom, have you made progress? Amanda, yes, I'm doing what you suggested. Margaret, good. Christopher needs to understand what's at stake. The white name depends on this. April the 15th. Margaret, any news? Amanda, not yet, but we're trying. Margaret, time is running out. 2 years goes faster than you think. They were coordinating, planning. My mother, the woman who'd raised me, who'd held me when I was sick, who'd taught me about family honor and the importance of legacy, had helped orchestrate my wife's affair. I scrolled to the most recent messages. Yesterday, October 3rd, 6:47 p.m. Gregory. When are you going to tell him the truth? Amanda, never. He'll raise the baby. He'll think it's his. Everyone wins. Gregory, and us? Amanda, we'll figure it out. After the baby comes, after the inheritance is secure. Then I saw the date on the first message. The affair hadn't started 8 months ago. It had started exactly 1 week after my grandfather's funeral. 1 week after we learned about the inheritance clause requiring a bloodline heir within 2 years. 1 week after my mother pulled Amanda aside at the wake and whispered something I couldn't hear. This wasn't an affair. This was a plan. The phone screen dimmed. In the darkness, I could hear Amanda breathing, steady, peaceful. She had no idea I knew. I looked at the timestamp on Gregory's last message. It had come through 2 hours ago while we were eating dinner, while Sophia was showing me her latest drawing, while Amanda smiled at me across the table and talked about nursery colors. The message was simple. Same time tomorrow. Her response, sent from the bathroom while I was clearing dishes, can't wait. I put the phone back on the nightstand, exactly where she'd left it, exactly the same angle. Then I walked out of the bedroom, down the hall, past Sophia's room, where she slept with her stuffed animals and her drawings and her innocent belief that everything would be okay. I went to my office, closed the door, sat at my desk, and I did what any rational man would do when he discovers his entire life is a lie. I started planning. The next morning, I made coffee like always. Amanda came down in her scrubs. Another shift at the hospital. She kissed my cheek. You okay? She asked. You look tired. Didn't sleep well. The baby keeping you up already? She laughed, touched her stomach. I know it's early, but I swear I can feel something, like this little presence. I looked at her hand on her belly, Gregory's child, growing inside my wife, while she smiled at me and talked about nursery colors. Amanda, I said. My voice came out steady. Too steady. When did it start? She froze, coffee cup halfway to her mouth. What? The affair. When did it start? The cup hit the counter. Coffee splashed across the granite. She didn't move to clean it, just stared at me. I don't know what you're... I pulled out my phone, turned it toward her. The screenshot of her text messages filled the screen. He'll think it's a miracle. She went pale. Actually pale. I watched the color drain from her face like someone had opened a valve. How did you... Does it matter? Chris, I can explain. When did it start? She looked at the floor, at the coffee spreading across the counter, anywhere but at me. February, she whispered, right after the funeral, right after we learned about the inheritance. I set the phone down between us. You planned this. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She was crying now, real tears running down her face, dripping onto her scrubs. I was trying to help. You were so stressed about the will, about the bloodline requirement. Your mother said... My mother knew? The silence answered everything. I felt something crack inside me. Not break, crack, like ice on a pond. The surface still holding, but underneath everything was falling apart. She came to me, Amanda said, quiet, desperate. After the funeral, she said the inheritance depended on you having a biological heir. She said adoption didn't count. She said what? She said I needed to find a way. That's all. She didn't tell me to have an affair. She just reminded me what was at stake. I started laughing. Couldn't help it. The sound came out wrong. Too high. Too sharp. Amanda stepped back. Reminded you what was at stake, I repeated. So you slept with your boss, got pregnant with his child, and planned to lie to me for the rest of my life. It wasn't supposed to be forever, just until what? Until the inheritance cleared? Until you figured out how to keep lying? She placed her hand on her belly again. The gesture was calculated. I saw it now. Saw how she'd used the pregnancy as a shield. You wouldn't abandon your own child, she said. Would you? It's not my child. It could be, if you wanted it to be, if you... Stop. Chris, please, think about Sophia. Think about our family. We could... Our family? I walked to the counter, wiped up the spilled coffee with a dish towel, took my time. When I looked up, she was watching me with something like hope in her eyes. Like maybe if I was doing household chores, everything could go back to normal. Your mother said you'd understand, she whispered. She said you'd do what's right for the family. And there it was. The real betrayal, not just Amanda, not just Gregory, my mother. I drove to my mother's house. She lived 10 minutes away, the family home where I'd grown up. 3 stories, white columns, gardens my grandfather had planted, 4 generations of whites, the weight of history. She opened the door, smiling. Christopher, what a nice surprise. Come in, I'll make... Did you tell Amanda to have an affair? The smile froze. What? Simple question, Mom. Did you tell my wife to get pregnant by another man? She stepped back. Let me in. Closed the door carefully, like she was worried the neighbors might hear. Let's talk in the study. Answer the question. Christopher, sit down. Answer the question. She folded her hands. Looked at me with those calm, measuring eyes. The same eyes that had watched me grow up. The same eyes that had held me when Dad died. The same eyes that were about to tell me she'd destroyed my marriage. I didn't tell her to have an affair, she said. Precise, careful. I reminded her what was at stake. Your grandfather's legacy, 4 generations of white men, the inheritance that depends on you having a biological heir. That's all. That's all? She came to me crying, Christopher, crying about your infertility, about feeling like she'd failed the family, about Sophia, sweet girl but not blood. I simply reminded her that your grandfather's will was very specific. I stared at her, this woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me about honor and responsibility and family duty. You knew, I said. You knew she was sleeping with Gregory. I suspected she'd find a solution. I didn't ask for details. A solution, that's what you call it. My wife sleeping with her boss, getting pregnant with his child, lying to me. That's your solution? She walked to the desk, opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, thick leather-bound, set it on the desk between us. Your grandfather's will, she said. Read the clause again. I know what it says. Do you? Because it's very specific. A bloodline heir born within 2 years of my death. Not adopted, not chosen, bloodline. Your grandfather built this family over 4 generations. He didn't do that so you could throw it away on sentiment. Sentiment? Sophia is my daughter. Sophia is adopted. She said it like a fact. Cold, clinical. She's a lovely child, but she doesn't carry white blood, and the inheritance requires white blood. I opened the folder. There it was, the original will, page 3, paragraph 7, the clause that had haunted me for 6 months. I found something else, my mother said. She pulled out a smaller notebook, handwritten notes, her writing. I recognized it immediately. I took the notebook, flipped through it. Dates going back years. March 2022, adoption finalized. C seems content, but inheritance clause still a problem. June 2022, discussed with attorney, adoption insufficient, bloodline requirement clear. January 2023, C turns 40, 2 years until deadline, time running out. February 2024, father dies, will revealed, spoke with Amanda, she understands the stakes. You've been planning this for 2 years, I said, before Grandpa even died. I was protecting you, Protecting this family. Your grandfather left you that money for a reason, to ensure the white name continues. I couldn't let you lose it because of what? My infertility? My choice to adopt? Because of your sentimentality. She took the notebook back. You've always been too soft, Christopher. Too willing to put feelings above duty. Your grandfather knew that. That's why he wrote the clause, to force you to do what's necessary. I felt something shift inside me, that crack in the ice widening, spreading. You're my mother, I said, quiet. And you destroyed my marriage to protect money. I protected our legacy. There's a difference. Is there? She looked at me without shame, without regret. I did it for you, for this family, for everyone. I walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Did Grandpa know about my infertility? She hesitated just for a second, but I saw it. Yes, she finally said, he knew. And he still wrote that clause? He believed in the importance of blood, as do I. I left without another word, drove back to my house, sat in the driveway for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. My wife had betrayed me. My mother had orchestrated it. And somewhere in that house, Sophia was probably drawing another picture of our family, a family that was falling apart around her. I pulled out my grandfather's watch, held it in my palm, the weight of 4 generations. For the first time since the funeral, I took it off, set it on the passenger seat. Then I went inside to start packing. Jennifer Scott's office was downtown, 3rd floor, corner suite, windows overlooking the harbor. She'd handled my business contracts for years. Now she was going to handle my divorce. How long have you known? She asked. A week. She reviewed the evidence I'd brought. Text messages, hotel receipts, private investigator reports, medical records proving I couldn't be the biological father. This is solid, she said. Adultery is still a factor in South Carolina divorce law. You'll get a favorable settlement. I don't care about the settlement. I care about Sophia. She looked up. Your adopted daughter? My daughter. Christopher, I need you to understand something. She closed the folder, leaned forward. Amanda is Sophia's biological mother. You're the adoptive father. In South Carolina, biological parents have certain rights that she's my daughter. I know. But legally, Amanda has an advantage. And if she fights for custody, she'll fight. Then this gets complicated. Adoption law, custody law, the fact that you're divorcing. The court will look at stability, primary caregiver history, Amanda's pregnancy, the pregnancy with another man's child. Which proves infidelity, yes, but it also proves she's capable of bearing children. The court might see that as relevant to her ability to care for Sophia. I stared out the window. The harbor was gray today, storm coming in. What are my chances? I asked. Of getting primary custody, 50-50, maybe better with this evidence. But Christopher... She waited until I looked at her. You need to prepare for the possibility that you might lose her. Not permanently, but shared custody, alternating weeks, holidays, split up. That's the reality. 50-50, a coin flip. My daughter's entire future decided by a judge who'd never met her. File the papers, I said. Do whatever it takes. She nodded, started filling out forms, paused. There's something else, she said. The inheritance. If Amanda knows about it, and based on these texts, she does, she might go after it in the settlement. Let her try. Christopher, we're talking about $1.2 million with the bloodline clause if you divorce Amanda now before the baby is born. I don't care about the money. She studied me for a long moment. You say that now, but when this is over, when the legal fees are paid and your life is rebuilt, you might feel differently. I thought about my grandfather, about the watch I'd left in the car, about 4 generations of white men and the weight of expectation. No, I said, I won't. That night, I did bedtime with Sophia. She picked the book, a story about adoption. about a family who chose each other instead of being born together. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart? Why does mommy keep crying? I kept reading. Mommy's just... It's adult stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. Is it because of the baby? Sort of. She was quiet for a moment, then... Mommy says blood makes you family, but my book says love makes family. She touched my face. Small hand, paint-stained from art class. Daddy, you chose me. You didn't have to. That's better than blood, right? Because you wanted me. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak. Daddy? I pulled her close, held her tight. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and crayons and innocence. You're right, I finally managed. Choosing is better than blood. So much better. Then why is everyone so sad? Because sometimes adults forget that. We forget what's really important. She pulled back, looked at me with those serious 5-year-old eyes. Don't forget, okay? Promise you won't forget I'm your real family. I promise, baby. I promise. After she fell asleep, I stayed in her room, sat in the rocking chair we'd bought when we first adopted her, watched her breathe. Sophia touched my face. Daddy, you chose me. That's better than blood, right? And suddenly I knew what I had to do. So here's my question for you, and I want you to really think about this. If you discovered the truth, if your entire life was built on a lie, would you burn it all down for justice, or would you stay silent to protect the innocent? Comment truth or peace, because I had to make that choice, and I had 48 hours to decide. Robert called 2 days later. I've got more. You're not going to like it. We met at the same coffee shop. He had new files, more surveillance photos. 30 photos total, he said. Timeline goes back 8 months. Coffee shops, hotels, his apartment. But there's something else. He pulled out a single photo. Time stamp, yesterday. Location, Gregory's apartment building. Amanda walking in. Gregory's hand on her pregnant belly. The timestamp 3:47 p.m. Yesterday. While I was picking Sophia up from kindergarten, while we were getting ice cream and talking about her day. There's more, Robert said. He pulled out another document. Gregory Robinson's divorce records. I pulled them this morning. Reason for divorce: adultery with subordinate employee. Filed 3 years ago. He's done this before. At least twice that I can confirm. Both times with married subordinates. Both times the women were in their 30s. Both times... He stopped. What? Both times the women got pregnant. I stared at the photo. Amanda's face, smiling, happy. Gregory's hand on her belly, possessive, proud. He has a type, Robert said, and a method. He targets married women, women who want kids, women with something to lose. Then he gives them what they want and what he wants. I thought about the text message. I've done this before, not about the affair, about the whole thing, the seduction, the pregnancy, the manipulation. The other women, I said. What happened to them? Both divorced, both got settlements. Neither husband has custody of the resulting children. Neither husband. I looked at Robert. He's going to do the same thing to me. Probably, but Chris, you have something they didn't. You have evidence, you have time, and you have Sophia. The court will consider that. Maybe 50-50, a coin flip. I took the photos, added them to my growing collection of evidence, my entire marriage, reduced to a folder full of proof. 3 days later, Jennifer called. We need to talk, in person, now. I drove to her office. She had a man with her, young, nervous, wearing a cheap suit. This is David Chen, she said. He works for Edward Miller. Edward Miller, my family's estate attorney. The man who'd read my grandfather's will at the funeral. The man who'd explained the bloodline clause. I can't do this, David said. He was sweating. I could lose my job, my license. Tell him what you told me. Jennifer said. David pulled out a folder, hands shaking. I was filing documents last week, estate paperwork. I found something in the archive that shouldn't have been there. He opened the folder. Inside, a legal document. My grandfather's will, but not the version I'd seen. This was different. This is dated 1 week before your grandfather died, David said. It's an amendment, a codicil to the original will. I read it. The legal language was dense, but the meaning was clear. I hereby amend Section 7, Paragraph 3 as follows. Any child my grandson Christopher chooses to call his own, whether by blood or bond, shall be considered his rightful heir. The love we choose is stronger than the blood we're born with. Below that, in shaky handwriting, my grandfather's handwriting, I recognized it. I was wrong. I watched my son pressure my grandson about heirs. I watched Christopher choose love when he adopted that little girl. Blood didn't make me a good father. Choice did. Any child Christopher chooses to call his own shall inherit. This is my final word. Dated September 15th, 2024, 1 week before he died. Notarized, legal, binding. This changes everything, Jennifer said. The bloodline clause is void. Sophia qualifies as your heir. You don't need a biological child. I stared at the document. Why didn't I see this before? David and Jennifer exchanged looks. That's the problem, David said. This should have been filed with the primary will. It should have been read at the funeral, but it wasn't. It was misplaced. Misplaced. Buried, Jennifer said, in an archive file marked superseded documents. Someone didn't want you to find it. Who? David pulled out another document, an email. From Edward Miller to someone named Emperor, our discussion, the amended codicil has been filed separately. The primary will stands as read. No one needs to know about the grandfather's change of mind. The bloodline clause remains in effect. M, my mother's code name. Your attorney and your mother conspired to hide this, Jennifer said, to keep you from knowing that your grandfather had changed his mind, that Sophia was already your rightful heir. I read the email again, then the amendment, then my grandfather's handwriting. Blood didn't make me a good father. Choice did. He'd known. Before he died, he'd seen what his will was doing to me, seen the pressure, seen my mother's obsession with bloodline, and he'd tried to fix it, but they'd buried it. The clerk pointed to the signature line. Your grandfather changed his mind. He wrote, any child Christopher chooses to call his own shall be his heir. The lawyer buried it. Everything I'd been fighting for, the inheritance, the pressure, the reason Amanda had been given to betray me, it was all based on a lie. My grandfather had chosen love over blood, and my mother couldn't accept it. I sat in my car outside Jennifer's office for an hour, just sat there, holding the amended will, reading my grandfather's words over and over. The love we choose is stronger than the blood we're born with. He'd known, he'd understood, and he'd tried to save me from exactly this, from the pressure, from the manipulation, from the belief that bloodline mattered more than choice. But my mother had stopped him, had worked with the lawyer to bury his final wishes, had pushed Amanda into an affair, had destroyed my marriage, all to uphold a requirement that didn't even exist anymore. I pulled out my phone, called Robert. I need you to do something else, I said. Name it. Edward Miller, the estate attorney. I need everything. Bank records, communications, proof that he conspired with my mother to hide this document. You're going after your own mother? I looked at the amended will, at my grandfather's shaking handwriting, at the words that could have saved everything if they'd just been read at the funeral. She went after me first, I said. Then I called Jennifer. File for emergency custody, full custody, and add fraud to the charges against Amanda. She knew the inheritance clause was void. She had the affair anyway. How could she know? My mother told her. I guarantee it. My mother knew about the amendment and didn't tell anyone. Check the text messages again. Look for anything about Amanda and my mother discussing the specific terms of the will. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then, Christopher, if you're right about this, if your mother deliberately hid this document, you're not just fighting for custody anymore. You're talking about legal fraud, criminal conspiracy. You'd be accusing your own mother of, I know what I'm accusing her of. Are you sure? Because once we file these motions, once we name her in the fraud claim, there's no going back. Your family will. My family? I started laughing. That same wrong, too high sound from before. Jennifer, my family tried to destroy my life to protect money that I was going to inherit anyway. They orchestrated an affair. They lied to me for months. They were willing to let me raise another man's child under false pretenses. That's not family. Then what is? I thought about Sophia, about the way she'd said, you chose me, about the picture she'd drawn, just two stick figures now, her and me. Family is the people who show up, I said, who choose you, who stay. Okay, Jennifer said, then let's fight. I hung up, started the car, drove home. Sophia was in the living room with Amanda. They were reading together. When I walked in, Sophia jumped up. Daddy, look what Mommy and I made. A new drawing, taped to the wall, 4 stick figures again, but this time one of them was crossed out. The baby, in red crayon. Why did you cross out the baby? I asked. Sophia looked at Amanda, then at me. Because Mommy said the baby might not come live with us. Because you and Mommy aren't happy anymore. Amanda stood up, defensive. I was trying to prepare her. You can't just... We need to talk, I said, alone. After Sophia went to her room, I showed Amanda the amended will, watched her face as she read it, watched the realization hit. It didn't matter, she whispered. The affair, the baby, none of it mattered. You were going to inherit anyway. Because of Sophia, because my grandfather chose love over blood, just like I did. Chris, I didn't know. Your mother never told me about this. She said, I know what she said. I know what you both did, and now I'm going to fix it. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. What does that mean? It means I'm getting a lawyer, a good one, and I'm fighting for Sophia, full custody. You can't. I'm her mother, and I'm her father, the one who chose her, the one who's been there, the one who didn't lie to her about who her family is. I walked to the door, stopped. The baby, I said, when it's born. You and Gregory can raise it. I hope you'll both be very happy with your solution. Then I left, drove to my mother's house one more time. She opened the door, saw my face, knew. You found it, she said. You knew the whole time. You knew Grandpa had changed the will. You knew Sophia qualified as my heir, and you hid it. I did what was... Don't tell me you did it for the family. Don't tell me you did it for me. You did it because you couldn't accept that Grandpa chose love over your obsession with bloodline. I handed her a copy of the amended will. She didn't take it, just stared at it. You destroyed my marriage for nothing, I said. You pushed Amanda into an affair. You manipulated us both. And for what? To uphold a clause that didn't exist? Your grandfather was old, sentimental. He didn't understand. He understood perfectly, better than you ever did. He understood that family isn't about blood. It's about choice, about showing up, about love. I set the document on the table by the door. I'm taking Sophia, I said. I'm getting full custody, and I'm using this... I pointed at the will. As evidence that you and Edward Miller committed fraud, legal fraud, criminal conspiracy. You wouldn't. I'm your mother. You stopped being my mother when you decided the white name was more important than my happiness. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. Christopher, please, I did this for you, to protect... You did this for yourself, to protect your idea of what family should be, but you were wrong, and Grandpa knew it. I pulled away, left her standing in that doorway, drove home. and for the first time in months, I felt something close to clarity. The family courtroom was smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights, beige walls, a judge's bench that looked like it had seen 1,000 broken families. Judge Patricia Coleman presided, mid-60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She'd been doing family law for 30 years. She'd seen everything. Amanda sat across the aisle with her lawyer, a man in an expensive suit that Gregory was probably paying for. She wouldn't look at me, kept her eyes on the table, one hand on her pregnant belly, still using it as a shield. Jennifer stood beside me, on the table between us, 3 folders, evidence, timeline, proof. Mr. White, Judge Coleman said, you're seeking full custody of your adopted daughter, Sophia White, age 5. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. And Ms. White, you're contesting this petition? Amanda's lawyer stood. We are, Your Honor. Ms. White is Sophia's biological mother and primary caregiver. Mr. White's petition is based on marital discord that has no bearing on Ms. White's ability to parent. Judge Coleman looked at Jennifer. Counselor? Jennifer opened the first folder. Your Honor, we're presenting evidence that Ms. White engaged in a lengthy affair with her employer, Gregory Robinson, resulting in pregnancy with his child, a child she intended to pass off as her husband's despite knowing he was medically incapable of fathering children. This goes directly to character, honesty, and judgment. She placed the first exhibit on the judge's bench. Text messages, printed, highlighted. Judge Coleman read in silence. 3 minutes, 5. The courtroom was so quiet I could hear the clock on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. Amanda's lawyer tried to object. Your Honor, extramarital affairs are unfortunate, but they don't determine parenting. Let me finish reading, Judge Coleman said. Cold. Final. She turned the page. Then another. I watched her face change as she read. Saw the moment she got to the messages between Amanda and my mother. Saw her eyes narrow. Miss White, the judge said, not looking up from the papers. Did you plan this pregnancy with the intent to deceive your husband about paternity? Silence. Ms. White, answer the question. Amanda's voice was barely a whisper. I thought I was trying to help. Help? Judge Coleman set the papers down, removed her glasses. You were trying to help by committing fraud. It wasn't fraud. He wanted a child. I was giving him a child that wasn't his, under false pretenses for financial gain. The judge looked at Jennifer. What's the financial motive here? Jennifer placed the second exhibit on the bench. Mr. White's grandfather left an inheritance of $1.2 million with a clause requiring a bloodline heir within 2 years. Ms. White and Mr. White's mother conspired to produce such an heir through deception. Produce. Judge Coleman looked at Amanda. Like you were manufacturing a product. Amanda started crying. Real sobs this time, shoulders shaking. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm, but she shook him off. I was scared, she said. Christopher's mother said she said the family needed this, that Christopher needed this. I thought I was helping. I thought, you thought wrong. Judge Coleman picked up another page, read it, looked at me. Mr. White, when did you discover the affair? 2 weeks ago, Your Honor. And Sophia, has she been informed of any of this? No, I've kept her out of it. She knows her mother and I are having problems. She doesn't know why. How has she responded to the separation? I thought about last night, about tucking Sophia in, about the way she'd held onto my hand and asked me 3 times if I was coming back in the morning. She's scared, I said, honest. She's afraid she's going to lose me, lose her family. Judge Coleman made a note. And the pregnancy, Ms. White is how far along? 14 weeks, Amanda's lawyer said. Due date? April. The judge leaned back in her chair, studied both of us. Then she opened the third folder, the one Jennifer had submitted last. Sophia's drawings, all of them. The progression Jennifer had documented, the way the family pictures had changed over 2 weeks. 4 people, 3 people, 2 people. The stick figure labeled me getting smaller and smaller, and the final drawing from yesterday, just 2 figures. Daddy and me, both holding hands, both smiling. Below it, in Sophia's careful kindergarten handwriting, real family. Judge Coleman held up that drawing, looked at Amanda. Ms. White, do you see this? Amanda looked, nodded. Your daughter drew this yesterday. 2 figures, her and her father, not you, not the baby, just them. Do you understand what that means? She's confused. If I could just talk to her. She's not confused. She's terrified. She's 5 years old and her world is falling apart, and the only stability she has left is her father. The judge set the drawing down, carefully. The father who chose her, who adopted her, who has been there every single night. Amanda's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, with all due respect, Ms. White is still the biological mother. The law recognizes... I know what the law recognizes, counselor. I also recognize manipulation. I recognize fraud. And I recognize a child in distress. Judge Coleman looked at her notes. I'm going to ask Ms. White a direct question, and I want the truth. She leaned forward. Ms. White, if your husband agrees to raise this baby as his own, to forgive the affair, to stay married, to maintain the family structure, would you stop the affair with Mr. Robinson? Time stopped. Everyone waited. Amanda looked at her lawyer, at her hands, at her pregnant belly. I can't, she whispered. I love him. And there it was. The truth. Not about me, not about Sophia, not about family, about Gregory. Judge Coleman closed the folder. Primary custody is awarded to Christopher White. Ms. White will have supervised visitation only, pending completion of family therapy and demonstration of stable home environment. Amanda made a sound, half sob, half gasp. Her lawyer was already objecting, talking about appeals, but Judge Coleman cut him off. My decision stands, Mr. White. You'll have physical custody effective immediately. Visitation schedule to be determined by the court mediator. We're adjourned. The gavel hit. Final. Binding. I stood there, frozen. Jennifer touched my arm. You won, she said. I won. Sophia was mine, legally, officially. No more 50-50, no more coin flip. But as I walked out of that courtroom, past Amanda crying into her lawyer's shoulder, I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I just felt tired. My mother called that night. I didn't answer. She called again and again, finally left a voicemail. Christopher, we need to talk about this, about the custody decision, about the inheritance. Your Aunt Susan is having a dinner next week. The whole family will be there. You should come. We can discuss... I deleted it, blocked her number. But Jennifer had a different idea. You should go, she said when I told her, to the dinner with the evidence. Why would I do that? Because right now your extended family thinks you're the one causing problems. They think you abandoned your pregnant wife. They don't know what she did, what your mother did, and they should. Public shaming isn't... This isn't about shame. It's about truth. Your mother controlled the narrative for months. Maybe it's time you controlled it. So I went to Aunt Susan's house, big colonial on the nice side of town. The whole family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, 12 people total. All of them looking at me with some mix of pity and judgment. My mother was there, of course, sitting at the head of the table like nothing had happened. When I walked in, she smiled, brittle, forced. Christopher, I'm so glad you came. I set my briefcase on the table. Everyone stared. I brought something to show everyone, I said. Something you should have shown them 6 months ago. I pulled out the 2 wills, placed them side by side on the dining table, original and amended. What is this? Aunt Susan asked. Grandpa's will, 2 versions. The one on the left, that's the one Mom and the estate lawyer read at the funeral. The one with the bloodline clause. The one that said I needed a biological heir within 2 years. I pointed to the second document. This one. This is the amendment Grandpa wrote 1 week before he died. The one that says any child I choose is my rightful heir. The one that makes Sophia, my adopted daughter, my legal heir. Silence, everyone looking at the documents, then at my mother. The amendment was filed, my mother said, calm, controlled. It just wasn't. It was buried, hidden. You and Edward Miller conspired to keep me from knowing about it, to keep the bloodline clause in effect, to pressure me into having a biological child. Uncle Robert, my father's brother, picked up the amendment, read it, looked at my mother. Is this true, Margaret? The legal situation was complicated. I was trying to protect. Answer the question. Did you hide this document? She lifted her chin, defiant. I did what was necessary to protect the White legacy. By lying to your son? By ensuring the family line continued properly. Christopher had adopted that girl, but she wasn't blood. Father's will was very specific about... Father's will was specific, I interrupted. In the amendment, the one you hid, he wrote... I picked up the document, read aloud. The love we choose is stronger than the blood we're born with. Any child Christopher chooses to call his own shall inherit. I looked around the table, at my cousins, my aunts and uncles, my family. Grandpa changed his mind before he died. He chose love over blood, but Mom couldn't accept that, so she hid this document, and then I pulled out the third folder, the text messages. She helped my wife have an affair to produce the biological heir the will no longer required. I spread the messages across the table, let everyone see, the coordination between Amanda and my mother, the planning, the manipulation. Aunt Susan covered her mouth. Oh my God, Margaret. I was trying to help, my mother said, standing now, defensive. Christopher was stressed about the inheritance. Amanda came to me crying. I simply reminded her what was at stake. You reminded her to commit adultery, Uncle Robert said, flat, disgusted. I reminded her that family legacy matters, that blood matters, that... Blood doesn't matter. I slammed my hand on the table. Everyone jumped. Grandpa figured that out before he died. He watched you pressure me, watched me adopt Sophia, and he saw what real family looks like. Not blood, choice. I placed both wills on the table, side by side. Grandfather chose love over blood. Some people couldn't accept that. I looked at my mother. But I can, and I do. The room was silent. My mother stood there, surrounded by her family, and for the first time in my life, I saw her completely alone. Christopher, she started. I'm done, Mom. With the manipulation, with the lies, with the obsession over bloodline, Grandpa tried to save me from it, and now I'm saving myself. I picked up my briefcase, started toward the door. And Sophia? Aunt Susan asked. Quiet. Your daughter? I stopped, turned back. Won custody yesterday, full custody. She's mine, legally and in every way that matters. Good, Uncle Robert said. He stood up, walked over to me, put his hand on my shoulder. Your grandfather would be proud. I hope so. I know so, because he wrote it, right there. He pointed to the amendment. The love we choose is stronger than the blood we're born with. He meant that. I looked at my mother one last time. She was sitting now, head in her hands, not crying, just, broken. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. Part of me wanted to comfort her like she'd comforted me when I was young, but I didn't, because she'd made her choice, and I'd made mine. I left without another word. 6 weeks later, I'm standing in the parking lot of Little Angels Preschool and Kindergarten. It's a Thursday morning, warm for November, clear sky, perfect day. Today is Sophia's kindergarten graduation, cap and gown ceremony, diplomas, the whole thing. I'm early, watching parents arrive, watching families gather, watching the kids line up in their tiny caps and gowns, giggling and wiggling and excited. Sophia sees me, waves, huge smile. I wave back. Feel something shift in my chest, something that's been tight for months finally loosening. My phone buzzes. Text from Jennifer. Inheritance cleared. 1.2 meters transferred to your account this morning. Congratulations. I look at the message. At the number $1.2 million, the inheritance that caused all of this, the money that was supposed to require a bloodline heir. But Sophia qualifies now because of the amendment, because my grandfather chose love over blood. I type back, thanks. Setting up the scholarship fund tomorrow. Scholarship fund? For adopted kids, in my grandfather's name. The Love We Choose Foundation. He'd like that. I think so too. I put my phone away. Walk toward the school. Inside, the auditorium is decorated with construction paper flowers and crayon drawings. Parents filling the seats. Teachers lining up the kids. Sophia spots me again, breaks ranks, runs over. Daddy, you came. Of course I came. I wouldn't miss this. Is Mommy coming? She can't make it today, sweetie, but she'll see you this weekend. Supervised visitation. Court mandated. 2 hours every Saturday. Amanda's been sober, stable, showing up. She loves Sophia. That much was never a lie, but she made choices, and choices have consequences. That's okay, Sophia says, as long as you're here. She hugs my legs, holds tight, then runs back to her class. The ceremony starts. Principal gives a speech about growth and learning and the journey ahead. Parents take photos. Kids fidget in their seats. Then it's time for diplomas. One by one, the kids walk across the stage, shake the principal's hand, get their certificate, wave to their parents. Sophia Marie White, the principal calls. Sophia walks up, cap slightly crooked, gown too long. The biggest smile I've ever seen. She takes her diploma, poses for the photo, then looks out into the audience, finds me, waves. I stand up, wave back, take a photo, sit down. But something's missing. I can feel it. Some piece that should be here. After the ceremony, I find Sophia in the classroom. She's showing her diploma to another kid, laughing, happy. Hey, kiddo, can I talk to you for a second? We step outside. Sit on the bench by the playground, just us. I'm proud of you, I say. You worked so hard this year. Thanks, Daddy. I have something for you, something important. I pull out the watch, my grandfather's gold watch, 4 generations of white men, the weight of history, the burden of expectation. This belonged to my grandfather, I say. Your great-grandfather. He wore it his whole life. Then my father wore it. Then me. I open the watch, show her the inside of the case, the inscription I'd found weeks ago when I'd almost thrown the watch away, the inscription my mother had never told me about. Blood or bond, love defines family. Grandfather, 1998. He knew, I tell Sophia, even back then, before I was married, before you were born. He knew that family isn't about blood. It's about love. About choice. Like how you chose me? Exactly like that. I place the watch in her small hand. It's too big for her. Way too big. But she holds it carefully, like she understands how important it is. This is yours now, I say. Not because you're a white by blood, but because you're my daughter, my real daughter, the one I chose. But Daddy, she looks at the watch, then at me. I thought it had to go to a boy, because it's been boys forever. It did go to boys, for 4 generations. But you know what? My grandfather was a smart man. And if he was here right now, I think he'd say that traditions only matter if they mean something. And this tradition, I touch the watch, means choosing love over blood, choosing family over rules. So I can have it? You can have it, and someday when you're older, you can decide if you want to pass it to your kids, or your chosen family, or anybody you love. She looks at the watch, studies it, traces the inscription with her finger. Do I have to give it back when the baby grows up? She asks. Quiet. Mommy's baby. My heart breaks a little because she's still worried, still afraid that the biological child will matter more than her. No, sweetheart, this is yours forever, not because of blood, because you're my legacy. She throws her arms around me, hugs me so tight I can barely breathe. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby, so much. We sit there for a while, watching the other kids play, watching families pack up and head home, watching the sun move across the sky. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up when everyone else walks away. If you have a found family story, someone who chose you when they didn't have to, I'd love to hear it. Share in the comments. Because those are the stories that matter. Those are the stories that last. That night, after I tuck Sophia into bed, after she makes me promise 3 times that I'll be there in the morning, after she falls asleep with the watch on her nightstand, I sit in the living room and think about everything that's happened. My wife betrayed me. My mother orchestrated it. I lost my marriage, lost my trust, lost the family I thought I had. But I gained something too: clarity, understanding, the knowledge that family isn't something you inherit. It's something you build. The watch sits on Sophia's nightstand, 4 generations of white men, and now 1 white girl, chosen, loved, real. I think about my grandfather, about the amendment he wrote 1 week before he died, about the inscription in the watch that I'd never noticed until I needed it most. The love we choose is stronger than the blood we're born with. He knew. Somehow he knew. And he tried to save me from the mistake he'd made, from believing that bloodline mattered more than love. I pull out my phone, look at the text from Jennifer about the inheritance. $1.2 million, money that was supposed to require a biological heir, money that almost destroyed my life. Tomorrow, I'll set up the scholarship fund for adopted kids, for kids like Sophia who need to know they're real, they're valued, they're enough. I'll call it the Love We Choose Foundation. My grandfather's words, his wisdom, his final gift. 6 months from now, Amanda will have the baby. A boy, the ultrasound said, Gregory's son. They can raise him together. They can build whatever family they want. I hope they'll be happy. I really do. Because Sophia will have a half-brother, and maybe someday, when everyone's healed, they can know each other. Not as a threat. Just as people who share a mother. But that's later. That's years away, maybe decades. Right now, I have what matters: a daughter who chose me back, a home that's safe, a future that's mine to build. I walk to Sophia's room, stand in the doorway, watch her sleep. The watch glints on her nightstand in the moonlight. 4 generations of history, and now a new beginning. We don't leave family behind, I whisper to the darkness, to my grandfather, to myself. But I learned to define family differently, not by blood, not by rules, not by what people expect, by choice, by love, by showing up, and that's real family, the kind that lasts. 2 months later, it's Christmas morning. First Christmas in our new apartment, smaller than the house, but it's ours, just me and Sophia. We're opening presents, stockings, pancakes, all of it. Sophia holds up a framed photo I got her. The 2 of us at her kindergarten graduation, her holding her diploma, me kneeling beside her, both of us smiling. This is my favorite present, she says. Better than the bike? Way better, because it's us, our real family. She puts it on her nightstand, right next to the watch. Later, when she's playing with her new toys, I get a text. Unknown number. I almost delete it. But something makes me open it. It's a photo. Amanda and Gregory, the baby between them. A boy, dark hair, Gregory's eyes. Below the photo, his name is Daniel. He's healthy, happy. I thought you should know. I look at the photo for a long time. This child, my wife's son, The baby that was supposed to be mine. The heir that wasn't needed. He's beautiful. That's the thing. He's a beautiful baby. And he has a family who loves him. Just not me. I text back, "Thank you for telling me. I'm glad he's healthy." A pause. Then, "How's Sophia?" I look at my daughter playing on the floor, wearing the watch around her neck on a chain because it's too big for her wrist. Happy, safe, home. "She's perfect," I write. "She's home." "I'm glad," Amanda responds. "Tell her I love her." I will, and I do. That night, during bedtime. "Mommy texted today," I tell Sophia. "She says she loves you, and she sent a picture of the baby. Daniel, your half-brother." Sophia thinks about this. "Is he nice?" "I don't know yet, but maybe someday you'll meet him. If you want to." "Okay." She snuggles into her pillow. "Daddy?" "Yeah." "Are we still a real family, even without Mommy?" I pull her blanket up, tuck her in, touch the watch hanging around her neck. "We're the most real family I know," I say, "because we chose each other, and we keep choosing each other every single day." She smiles. "I choose you too, Daddy." "I know, baby, I know." After she falls asleep, I stand in the doorway. Watch her breathe. Think about everything we survived, everything we built from the ashes. My grandfather's watch, his words, his wisdom. The love we choose is stronger than the blood we're born with. He was right, and we're living proof.